Hi, I'm Udwa Wasiokum. You're welcome to another episode of Social Realities. Have you noticed that the things you gain and the things you lose flow directly or indirectly from your interactions with people that cross your path? See, there's no such thing as self-sufficiency. Humanity is structured to realize sufficiency collectively rather than in isolation. From the day we are born right up till we are laid to rest, we depend on one another for one thing or the other, permanently or temporarily. Just like you depend on people for stuff, other people also depend on you for stuff. Just like you have a right as to how you choose to react or relate or respond to people when they reach out to you based on their needs or problems, other people also have a right to decide how to relate and how to respond to you when you reach out to them on the basis of your need or your problem, either as clients, as family members, or as friends. Now the issue is, because we all have choices on how we relate and respond, it becomes wise to deal with people in such a wise that when you do reach out to them, you can have favorable responses from them. Now the issue is that people are not machines that you can plug on or plug off. People have emotions, and the way you respond to people and to their emotions defines how they also in turn respond to you during your time of need. Several years ago, when I was living in Lagos and running a restaurant, I had a problem that threatened to shut down my business. I needed funding to restock. I also needed emotional support from someone, especially someone who had a similar experience in the past. I decided to visit one of my townsmen who also lived in Lagos and ran a business of his own. I visited him in his office. He listened to all I had to say with rapt attention. And afterwards, his response was, "Oh, Udwak, it's a pity." He gave me the money I needed to restock. In fact, he gave me extra. But I left that man's office sad and lonely. Why? He responded to me financially, but not emotionally. He reacted to my situation with sympathy, but what I needed was empathy. I tell you, there is a big difference between sympathy and empathy. There is a difference. Disappointments, grief, loss, defeats, these are things that happen to everyone. When someone around you is in their low moments, how you respond can help their pain or make it worse. Sympathy and empathy are two emotions that drive our responses to people emotionally. Sympathy is feeling sorry for someone else's misfortune. It is a detached feeling of pity or concern. On the other hand, empathy is understanding and sharing another person's feeling. Sympathy is passive. Empathy is active. How do I mean? When you sympathize with someone, you say something to soothe them. You say something to comfort them. However, you still remain detached, and what you say may or may not do anything for them. But when you empathize with someone, you don't just say something, you do something. You find a way to lighten the burden, either with your words or with your action. So, with sympathy, you express concern. But with empathy, you don't just express concern, you actually do something to help. You can help somebody with what you said, and you can help somebody with action one way or the other. The difference is that with sympathy, you are at a distance, even though you feel concern. But with empathy, you share with that person's pain and actually do something consciously to help the pain go away. Sympathy is pity. Empathy is compassion. Pity makes a person feel unfortunate, makes a person feel disadvantaged, and makes a person feel alone and isolated. Compassion, on the other hand, makes a person feel like they are not alone in their pain, like they are not different just because they are experiencing something like this. And compassion has a way of boosting someone's confidence, whereas pity has a way of reducing someone's self-esteem. When you empathize with someone, you energize them, you bring out the fighter in them, and you help them to rise to the occasion and weather the storm, and of course, eventually prevail over the situation. Now, empathy is not just an emotion. Empathy is also a skill. In other words, it is something you can learn. Empathy is a skill. Now, since life is all about human interaction, empathy is something you need to learn. Why must you learn to empathize rather than just sympathize? Because life is turn by turn. Today, it's another person's turn to feel low. Sooner or later, it will be your turn. People don't forget insensitive remarks or insensitive actions they received from you during their low time. That's another reason you must learn to empathize. Why must you intentionally build a habit of empathizing? Because every precious thing you seek in the now or in the future is behind a closed door, and someone has the key to that door. Someone you have interacted with in the past, or someone related to another person you interacted with in the past. So how do you build and practice empathy? Number one, use your own past experience to put yourself in the shoe of that person. No matter what level you are in life, you have had pain in the past. It is never difficult to retrieve memory of that pain and use it to understand how to relate with someone's pain in the present. Number two, treat people first as human beings before treating them as titles. You see, in terms of title, we all operate in different classes, but as human beings, we are all equal, having the same needs and the same emotions. So, treat people first as human beings rather than as class positioned beings, rather than as titles. When you do that, you will find yourself able to connect with whoever comes your path, regardless of their situation. And number three, always bear in mind that seeds don't die. Seeds eventually become the harvest that returns to you. So make up your mind to consciously sow the kind of seeds whose harvest will be favorable to you. Now, by way of a parting shot, I'd like you to bear in mind that you are and will always be the longest beneficiary of the good or the bad that flows from you into other people's lives. Let me take that again. You are and will always be the longest beneficiary of the good that flows from you or the bad that flows from you into other people's lives. Why are you the longest beneficiaries? Because seed is never the same at the time of harvest. So every good thing that you sow into people's lives will return to you in multiplied form. It goes without saying that every bad thing you sow into another person's life will also return to you or to people in your space in a multiplied form as harvest. Empathy endears you to people in your family. Empathy endears you to people in your neighborhood. Empathy endears you to your colleagues, to your superiors, or to your subordinates in the workplace. That is why your life will be better if you will learn to live beyond sympathy, if you will make the commitment to change from just being sympathetic. Make a commitment, therefore, to switch from sympathy to empathy. Sympathy is actually much better than disdain for other people when they are passing through stuff. But empathy is also so much better than sympathy.